So in this video, list in Python, we are going to discuss about accessing list elements. How we are going to access the element in a list. First we talk about list. List is a collection of items which are stored according to its index value. We already discussed the same thing in a string also. Even in the string we access the characters on the basis of index values. Here also we are going to access all those elements with the help of index value. We also know about the slice operator that has been used with the index value to access the elements, and slice is always start with start and end. The last end is always going to be -1. It means if it is 4, that it works up to 3, and every time the first value is going to start from the 0. So when we have to access, we are going to declare one list, and here is that list, that is no equals to bracket square bracket 10 comma 20. This is a list. Why? Because square brackets have been used. So when we check the diagram, it will show like this, that the numbers are going to store in a separate blocks, and each block there is an index value, positive and negative. That means 10, 20, 30. In a positive it start from 0 to 7, and in negative it will start from -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, negative value. So now one more example. If I'm going to store the months, and there is a variable name month, that is a list, and to store January, February, so it is like this. Again the same thing, positive value start from 0 up to 11, and the negative start from right to left, start from -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, -12. Now how to access these lists? Let us discuss some operations, because these operators are going to tell us that how we are going to access these list elements. So list of operations that can be done in the list. First is indexing, second slicing, repetition, concatenation, and membership testing. You know that indexing, slicing, we have already discussed this in a string video. You can go through that also. You will understand what is the use of indexing, but I am going to explain these things in list also again. So first we will talk about indexing. So let's move to the next part. Now indexing, you know what is the meaning of indexing? Indexing start from 0. Indexing specify the position of the element in the list or a sequence, and help us to access a particular value according to the index value. So if we ask to access the number 50, element number 50, where is that element number 50? Here. If we talk about in a positive indexing, it is stored at 4th place, and if we talk about negative, it again it's stored in a -4. And if we need to access this 50 using positive index value, where it is? Here. So how we are going to access this value? So we have to write down the line. Here it is. What is that line? Print NO of 4. NO of 4 in positive is going to access that value. But if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, it is a 5th place, but according to the index value it is a 4th place. So 4 is going to give me access this 50. If I'm going to access this value in a negative, means if you want to access number 30, where it is that 30? Here it is, and we want that we need to access this value, but now in a negative. So where it is? -6. So when we write down the line -6, it will access that 30 from here. Let us explain the same thing using a practically. Here it is. If I move to the first part, here NO 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I've already put that 5. If I'm going to execute this line, will show me the value that is 60, where it is as 60 is here. Now if I need to display this 20, but not in the case that this is 0, 1, means I'm going to write down positive 1, I'm going to display value 20. But in case of negative, -1, -2, -3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I'm going to write down -7 and I'm going to execute this, it will give me 20. Here it is. If I move to the next part, same thing, months are given, and I want to display July. So if you count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I put 6 here, I'm going to execute this line, will show me the same thing. Here it is. It is going to display me the answer. Means now let us start the next topic, that is slicing. And what is the use of slicing? Is to slice a particular range from a sequence. This slicing we have already discussed in a string also. to display the characters. In the slicing, list name, bracket sign, and the start and stop. These are the compulsory options that we are going to use, but step is going to be the optional. Starting point, then the stop, and then the step. By default, step is 1. So let us discuss. Here is the list. In a 0 there is 100, 1, Suraj 50.45, Pratap 450, 890.25. These are the values stored in a separate blocks, and index values start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the negative value is already given. Now if we are using a slice, now first example, if I am using the name of the list, that is my list, and I am using 2 bracket sign with the colon and nothing is, no start value, not a stop value, so it will be a default and will display the whole list. The full list is going to be displayed. Even if you want to display the list, you can use my list only, and without using these bracket sign also you can display. I can show you that also. If you move to the practically, here it is. If I am going to using this list from month, if I am going to without any bracket sign, months are going to display. Even if I am going to use the bracket, then colon, and then bracket sign, then also the same output is going to be displayed. Here it is. There is no, you can use both the methods, but we are discussing the slice though, so we have to use this sign. But if you need to display some particular values like this, now if we want to display 1:4, that means this is starting and it is going to be the ending value, but you know that end value is always going to be -1. That means item will be displayed from 1 to 3, that is 1 to 3, Suraj 50.45, Pratap. I'm going to show here also. If I'm going to write down 2 to 5, that means 2 to 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means March, April and May. If I'm going to display that, I'm going to give me March, April and May. Means slicing has been done. Now if I move to the next, again from the next example, here it is. Now I need to display something that is 1:6:2. That means now I'm increase the increment. Now it is not going to be jump one place, it will jump 2 places. That means if it start from the 1, here it is 1, then jump to 3, and then jump to 5. It will display me these 3 values. It will show that in a Python, same answer, March, April and May. If I change that and put a colon and 2, now what happened? Let's see. March and May. March and May, it jump. Leave the April by, because there is a jump of 2. Now if I move, here it is. By default I have already done, but if you make that 2, it means jump of 2 places. Now again, now we move to the negative part. If I am using -3 colon, that means starting from -3 up to the end value. Where is that end value is? That will display me. These 3 are the end value. That means now I'm moving negatively. Same here. If I'm using -3 colon and display October, November and December, it will display me these 3 values. Now again, means this is the method that I need to follow. Now we move to the next one, that is concatenation. What is the meaning of concatenation? Means joining, combining 2 lists by using the plus sign. Now here is an example. I'm using list 1 and list 2. In a list 1 there is 10, 20 and 30, and in the list 2 there is 1, 2 and 3. I want to add these 1, 2, 3 to a list 1. 10, 20, 30, comma 1, comma 2, comma 3. That means I need it added in this list. So what is the line? That means there it is. In this list 1 we add list 2, and original list 1 will overwrite. Means we overwrite the value and change that 10, 20, 30 to 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3. So line that I'm using, that is list 1 equals to list 1 plus list 2. Now you will ask that why we have write down 2 times list 1 here, and it is going to be written here also. Why? Because we need to use the old value that is provided by this list 1 and add that value with list 2, and then both the lists are going to be override inside list 1 again. So the values are going to be transferred to this list 1 after adding the old values of list 1 with list 2 and then override the list 1, means the values are going to be changed. When we use this, it's going to show us the answer. Here is the program. In this I am using NO1, NO2. In NO1 there is 10, 20 and 30, and in NO2 is 1, 2 and 3. Now what we are going to do, we are going to add this value with the first list, that is NO1. And what is the line is NO1 equals to NO1 plus NO2. And when we execute this line and print NO1, which shows 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3. If I'm going to change this line to NO2 equals to NO2 equals to NO1 plus NO2, it means I'm override the value. Now I'm going to change that to NO2. What is the line is 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3. Now you say that both the answer are correct. Yes, but in this case, if I'm going to print NO1 also, now if I'm going to execute, NO1 is as it is, NO2 is changed. And what happened? First NO1 values, that is 10, 20, 30 have been added to NO2, then NO2 values have been overridden. If I change this to NO2 and this one becomes 1, now what happened? First 1, 2, 3, then 10, 20, 30, means 1, 2, 3 is already a part of NO2, and after that right side these three values are going to be added. If I am going to execute this line, you will find out yes, like this. Now if you are going to ask that you don't want to make any addition or adding these values, joining these, concatenating these values in these two lists, you want to make a separate list, yes, we can do that also. We make another list NO3, NO1 or NO2 plus NO1. After that we write down again print NO3. We make a third list by adding, joining these two lists, means we are not making any changes NO1, nothing is going to be changed in NO2, but these two lists are going to be added inside the NO3, means third list we created a new list, that is third list. When we execute, here is the list. This is NO1 values, these are NO2 values, and this is our third list that has been created. Means we at the runtime we create one more list, that is NO3, and the values in this list is first these three values, then these three values. If you want that, no, you want 10, 20, 30 is going to be the first value, so make it 1, and then you want that second list are going to be added, make it 2, and when you execute this line it will do you the same way, 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3. Now we will discuss next one, that is repetition. Repetition means multiply star sign that is going to be used to replicate the list for a specified number of times. Means this repetition is going to be used to replicate the values of a list by using the sign, that is a asterisk sign. How it is going to be done? With the example I am going to show you. Here is the list 1, 10, 20, 30. Now I want to replicate this, means 2 times, 3 times, as many time we needed. So I am writing that print list 1 multiply by 2, that means I need to replicate this value 2 times, that 10, 20, 30, again 10, 20, 30. So if I am going to execute this line, this is the list that is going to be display. So if I am going to show you practically, here is the list. I am using the list, this is 10, 20, 30, and I am going to write down list multiply by 2. So when I execute this line, it will show me the answer 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30. That means list 1, but it is not going to make changes inside the list. Original list remain as it is. But if you want to create a new list, like I want a new list, that is NO, and I want that these numbers are going to be replicated and is going to store inside this. So I use list 1, then I multiply by 2. Now if I am going to make the changes here, I am going to write down NO. It will show me the answer, that is going to be 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30. That means this is a new list that is going to be created, and NO, name is NO. List 1 remain as it is, that is 10, 20, 30, by using this replicate method. Now if we move to the next part, now it is membership. You know that what is the meaning of membership testing. We have used that in a string also. There are two operators that has been used. One is n, one second is not n. N is going to be used, that here is the list, 1, there is a 10, 20, 30 and 40. And what I'm done that I check that is the 10 exist inside the list 1. That means 10 in list 1. That is true. 10 is exists inside the list 1. So answer will be true. But if I write down something else in place of this, that will give me another answer. That is false. But before we move to the not in operator, I'm going to show you practically also that how it is going to work. If I'm using the same list and I'm going to erase this part and I'm going to use this, I write down that is 10 exists, that is in, that is NO. It's going to show me error. Why? Because NO is, there is no list name that is NO, that is list 1. So if I'm going to execute this line again, it will show me the answer that is true. But if I'm going to write down that line is going to be changed to 11 or 144 or something, if I write down 11, that means 11 exists inside list 1. No, that means false. But in the same way, if I'm going to work in this thing that is not in, and I'm going to make the changes here, that is 11 not in list 1. That is true. 11 not exist inside the list. So I'm going to execute, it will give me true answer. If I change that value to 20, 20 exists but not in, I'm using the answer is going to be false. But if I make it 2202, it will give me the answer that is true. So this is the working of the this part not in that is going to be used. Here is the example. I am using the same thing, it will show me. Now if I move to next part, now what is the next part? That is some arithmetic operators in list. How we going to use the arithmetic? What are those arithmetic operators? Plus, minus, multiply and divide. Take one example. Here is the example is, here is the list and I want that this value is going to be changed. And I want to add 15 to it. That means the next time the value should be 55. Means this value is going to be not in all the values of the list, only this value that is sitting at the index value 3. So if I'm going to write down NO equals to NO plus 15, is it going to make any changes? No, this is not the correct line. What is the correct line? I need to jump to that index value that is 3. So to jump to that 3, we have to use indexing. How it is going to be done? Here it is. NO of 3 is equals to 15. This line is correct, but is the concept is fulfilled? No. Why? Because now it is not adding, it is overwriting the original value of this block and changing this 40 to 15. I'm going to explain that with the help of the example here. If I need to change this value 20 and I want that this value is going to be added with the 15 and it's going to be 35. If I'm going to write down the same line, NO of index values 1 is equals to 15, then I write down print and NO. Now if I'm going to execute this line, the answer is going to be 10, 15, 13. NO does not exist. So I'm changing the name of the list. NO. If I'm going to execute this line, 10, 15, 13. Now this value become 15. I don't want 15. I need this value is going to be 35. So I need to add that with the plus sign, and before that what I'm going to use, NO of 1. It means first it's going to put 20 here in place of NO of 1. NO of 1 is here. Add this value 20 with 15 and the modified value is going to override the original value at NO of 1. So that means this value is going to be changed to, that is 35, like this. If I need to make the changes again in the next value, if I write down NO of 2 where 30 is being stored, I want that it's going to be subtract by minus 5. And when I'm going to execute this line, what happened? It becomes 25. So I make the changes, the original values are changed. Now 10, 35 and 25 are the values stored inside the NO. How it has happened? Because left side the value is going to be transferred, because we are using the equal to sign.